Imagine wandering through a busy street in Sri Lanka, surrounded by colorful fabrics, spicy aroma, and the laughter of friends bargaining for the best deals. Now, picture this: a street artist weaving together different threads, together creating a beautiful tapestry that tells us a story. Yes, the tapestries that we hang in our bedrooms are more than just decorations. They represent the careful weaving of together of different threads, together in unique ways. And just like those threads, the connections we make through our shared experiences and creativity forms a rich tapestry that tells the story. And today, let's explore one of those threads: the incredible impact of Braille technology in fostering connections. Good morning, everyone. As we dive into this topic, let's consider how small innovations can lead to great outcomes. For instance, have you ever ever tried to communicate in a language that you're still learning? I'm pretty sure you guys have. Like when I attempted to speak in French, left everyone confused. And that's the kind of communication barrier that can leave us everyone feeling lost. Yeah, feeling lost. And that's where Braille technology steps in. Braille technology steps in as a universal translator, helping to bridge connections in visually impaired people. Well, thinking of Braille, I have a question for you guys. What exactly pops into your mind when you think of Braille? Anyone here? Okay, so it seems like my audience is too quiet today. And I actually saw this coming while I was preparing my speech. So I decided to actually ask this question from a few of my personal friends. And their response for what Braille technology is that it's a set of dots that look like of connecting the game gone wrong. But in reality, Braille is so much more. Braille is a life changer, a community changer, and a community builder for millions of visually impaired people. Well, let's rewind back to the early 1800s. And I would like to call this the start of a dotty delight. Picture this: a young French boy named Louis Braille, who at the age of just 3 lost his sight by an accident. He always sought a way to read and write. But at that time, books for the blind were written in cumberstones featuring raised letters, which was pretty difficult to read and write. Imagine living in a world where reading is a challenge, and the only options you have is just heavy books with raised letters. But instead of feeling sorry for himself, Louis gets inspired. He sees a military code called night writing, which was specifically designed for soldiers to communicate during the nights with their enemies, without alerting their enemies. But he gets inspired by this idea, where he creates his own set of dots arranged in cells, which is now known as the Braille technology. For instance, and at the age of 15, in 1824, Louis Braille becomes the youthful pioneer by creating the Braille technology, a method of reading and writing for the visually impaired, which represents letters, numbers, and even musical notations. Now, I can relate to Louis in a way. As an 11th grader, juggling with various mixed errands and hobbies, from studying for exams, preserving dry flowers, to even learning my own guitar. And I often find myself trying to balance everything, just like Braille created balance in reading for everyone. And I strive to find balance in my life. And just like Braille created and bridged a lot of connections between visually impaired people, I think we all can create connections through our shared experiences. Thinking about experiences, this reminds me of a moment from my life. Picture this. My parents excitedly gifted me a guitar for Christmas. And there I was staring at those 6 dangling strings, but like they were a puzzle. And I thought to myself, how on earth can those simple 6 strings produce beautiful music? Well, I can admit, at the very first few weeks of me and my new guitar, every single strum I made seemed to unleash a cacophony of noise. But once I remember my mom came up to me and said, Shaki, I think you're supposed to strum that guitar a little gently. Just like that, I think we all can create great experiences through small needs. And in many ways, Braille is just like my guitar. 6 dots, when combined, creates a symphony of connection for visually impaired people. Imagine living in a world full of pitch black, and these dots aren't just symbols, but they're keys for unlocking a universal full of remarkable experiences. So if I can turn my guitar experience into music, imagine the harmony that Braille brings into people's lives. Yeah, thanks to Braille, visually impaired people can now read, write, communicate just like their sighted peers. It's like a VIP pass for education and independence at that time, right? Imagine being able to just dive into your favorite novel, or simply send a text to one of your friends without having to rely on anyone. Well, that's the true transformative power of Braille technology. Yeah. Louis Braille's system, seemingly a simple collection of dots, has revolutionized accessibility and education. Where certain schools everywhere have now begun incorporating Braille into their curricula, creating schools where every student has equal access for learning. Picture this, a vibrant classroom, every single student with their disabilities come together engaging with textbooks and literature, breaking down all those barriers and fostering a sense of belonging. It was nothing short of a revolution. Now, let's not forget that we are living in an age of rapid technological advancement. And Braille technology has evolved dramatically, giving rise to innovations such as Braille embossers, Braille keyboards, and whatnot. But these tools don't just expand access for information. They create connections between blind and sighted people. Blind individuals can now navigate computers, smartphones, and other devices with ease, intertwining them to the wider world. It's incredible to see how, just simple 6 dots could pave a pathway of creativity, and interaction, bringing them all together, transcending differences and distances. Braille's story not only highlights the importance of equal access, but it also highlights the importance of inclusivity, where Braille's system set a precedent for creating solutions that benefit all individuals. And by addressing the specific groups, Braille's system set a precedent for creating solutions that benefits all individuals, regardless of their abilities. It emphasizes how focusing on inclusivity can lead to greater social benefits. The widespread adoption of Braille technology not only creates bridge connections, but also bridge connections in understanding between sighted and blind people. By connecting people through their shared experiences and mutual respect, Braille technology strengthens the fabric of our global community. And Louis Braille was not just a 15-year-old boy, but he was a trailblazer for inclusivity, where his reading system not just helped blind people read, but he also he paved a pathway of advancements in technology. For instance, in 2002, NASA published one of its Braille books of astronomy that touched the universe, ensuring that visually impaired astronomers and space lovers weren't forgotten. And secondly, Braille technology has also found its way in Braille medicine industry, where Braille dots can now be found in medicine boxes, ensuring that visually impaired people and patients can now safely identify their medical treatments. And Braille also found a way into the Bible, making sacred text accessible for everyone. These dots connected the dots of life. And thanks to Braille, a whole universe of knowledge can now be accessible for everyone. Now, before I conclude, let's not forget about an inspiring figure, Helen Keller, who was at the age of just 19 months. Yes, I repeat, just 19 months, she became really ill with a high fever, leaving her totally blind and deaf for her lifetime. But with Braille and fingerspelling, she overcame all her disabilities to become a prolific author and an advocate for individuals with disabilities. But with Braille, she not only communicated, but published many books, including her renowned autobiography, The Story of My Life. Helen once said that alone we can do so little, but together we can do so much. And here we are seeing that Helen Keller exemplifies how assistive technology empowers individuals, turning challenges into opportunities. So if she could do all that, regardless of her sight, what's stopping us from pursuing our own dreams? And once again, always know that each of us carry a unique tapestry of experiences. No matter how small, grand, rational, or irrational it is, I encourage you, everyone, to embrace your story with confidence, because that's what connects us all, especially the ones with disabilities. Remember, let's everyone together, let's create a world where everyone's voice matters. And to conclude, let's not forget that the story of Braille is a powerful example of how trivial details can lead to significant outcomes. Because Louis Braille didn't just create a reading system for the blind. He opened the door of self-confidence, inviting the youthful generation to embrace their differences. Because at the end, no one's perfect. But we can always turn our imperfections into great innovations. So before I wrap up, I would love to leave this thought with you guys, because I've been telling this to myself for the past few years, and I think it would benefit every one of you seated here. It's okay to be different in a world full of duplicates, because it's your uniqueness what makes you truly exceptional. Thank you.